Hi, many of you are checking out cameras from school. This is just a quick little video on how to use it and how to shoot in manual. You put it to M, see the M setting, and if you panic, you could put it to right there. It's it's green, it's auto. You turn the camera on by just clicking this little button on. This is, you push down that to shoot. Right now, this is the fixed millimeter. See, I have it on auto. I got to put it on manual so that the flash doesn't go on. But this is the fixed 50 millimeter lens. You hold down this little button here and you turn it to take it off. If you want to put it on, it's dot to dot. See the other dot there? Look, so dot to dot, and it clicks on. You have to hold your eye up to there. You hear how fast the shutter is working right now? That has to do with, look on the back of this. Right now I have I love these cameras because the aperture, which is right here, it shows when it's all the way open. And when it's all the way open with this lens, it's at, see the F? It's at 1.8, okay? If I close it down, I'm holding this button here. It's the plus and minus button here, and then I wind it. And it'll close it down. And the reason we would do that is to get less light in the camera if we want to like do a blur, motion blur. Notice that the exposure bar, it's way underexposed right now. So what I would need to do, I have to turn it back on, is I'd wind this little wind towards the zero. So I'm winding it towards the zero. And now that would be the right exposure right there around zero. And my shutter speed, it is at 1/20th. It shows it. It shows it at 1/20th. So that's too little. Listen, click. It's that's really too low. Anything under 1/60th. So I'm going to open up the aperture a little bit more. I'm holding down the button and I'm winding it just to get. What I want to do is get that number just under 1/60th. So there's 1/60th right now. If it's at 1/60th, it's not going to do a blur. When I'm trying to focus on something, and actually I probably wouldn't use this lens for blurs, and I would use this kit lens, and it will come with kit lens. It's easier to control focus on the kit lens. I would use the kit lens like if you're in a parade and everything. If you need something that's going to be easy focus, and I put the focus is on auto right now. You hold it down halfway. You see how it does the autofocus? But if you put it on manual, now you manually have to focus this. Don't get that confused with that's the zoom, okay? This lens goes from 18 to 55, which means this is a 50, right? So 18 to 50. So basically you get more of the room. You can see like this would be like how you normally see people like right now, but this would be able to, it's like backed up. Like you could see the full body versus just waist up. It's a little more like I see my entire screen with that. Whereas when I zoom it in, I just see inside of the screen. So I would manually focus it, and I want to get a good exposure. So you have to, if I have it underexposed, watch, I'm winding it underexposed to the minus, that's your exposure bar. It's going to turn really dark, watch. See, my exposure is like black. Now I wind it, wait, sorry. If I wind it to the zero, it says it's 1/30th of a shutter, which if you hold it really still, take a deep breath in, you can still have a good focus. There's my picture. Now I'm going to overexpose it, which is, there's not really a lot of light in here right now for doing it that exposed. You see how long click. That's really fun when you're doing like long exposures. Look at it, it's overexposed. People will set it all up, get the exposure right for inside, and then they'll go outside and they'll be like, well, all my pictures are coming out white. They can't understand it. They'll expose, and they're checking the exposure, they're pointing it down at their feet. You have to hold it where you're holding it to look for it to go in and read what the light is and bounce back through the sensor. So you can't be like this, trying to adjust. Wherever you're doing this, that'd be great for when you're going to take a picture of your shoes, right? So if I take a picture with it overexposed, listen how long, 1, 2, 3, 4, like That's a really long, but it's white. That's really fun when you do long exposures, like for 4 seconds, and you're in a really dark room, and you sit it on a tripod, and you like do this with your phone. You can write love and all that stuff. We'll do that. We'll do that soon. But anyway, I wanted to talk to you about the exposure triangle, which is you're going to learn. It's kind of hard to see in here. The top is the aperture. So we just did that. We opened up the aperture. It's like your eyes. Think about the pupils of your eyes. When you're inside and it's super dark, your pupils dilate, right? And they get open really big. Have you ever been like, and go, what's up with your eyes? They're really, really dilated, right? They're really, really big, right? The pupils. So if you go outside and it's really sunny outside, or right now I have a light on my eyes, but the pupil gets really little. So it's the same with this. It's like that it protects the sensor, closing it down. But we're going to do the opposite. We're going to open it up. So I love this because it's so visual. You can see it's all the way open for this kit lens at 5.6. Now to wind it to 0 on my exposure bar. This is my exposure bar. Right now it's still saying that it's overexposed, so I have to wind it to 0. Right now, okay, I have my ISO really set up high there. So right now in this room at ISO 100 with this light right here, the kit, it's at perfect exposures at 1/30th. So generally in a room like this, you have to use the available light you have. So I've had people do pictures where they literally they have their windows closed and their blinds closed, and then they're raising up their ISO. It's like, open your window, open your ISO. That's the other part of the exposure triangle. So you open up your aperture, look at your shutter speed. If your shutter speed is under 1/60th of a second, you're gonna need to add more light, because otherwise it can be blurry. Sometimes we want the blur though. We're gonna talk about that for blur, pans, and freeze. But to add more light in the camera, you go over here to your ISO, you hit your quick button, go in here, and it'll take you to your ISO, which is right there. And the more ISO you add, the faster you can make the shutter speed. So now I just brought it up to 800. It went way overexposed. If I took the picture, that wouldn't be a good exposure. So I have to now calibrate my exposure because I'm letting all this light in. It went from 30 to 125. Okay, that's really cool. So we're going to talk about how to close it down and to crank, like for this, if let's say I wanted to do a picture where I'm showing somebody jump, like the cat's jumping in the air. I want to capture that right now, like I got the kitty jumping. So, but I'm in this dark room. I would need to raise my ISO so that the shutter speed is over 1/500th of a shutter. So I would really have to crank my ISO to get it way up there. So I would have to put it, at least to like 800 ISO to get it up there, and even higher. Looks like 1600, which really it'd be like, okay, do this during the day with the big, with the window open and a lot of light. That'd be way better. But we're going to be doing this thing called blur, pan, freezes later, which is really fun in controlling the shutter. But I just wanted to show you that right now. And then to get in here, you want to make sure that it says raw fine at the top up here. Those are taking 2 pictures. One JPEG, which is a compressed picture, and we're doing fine, meaning it's the best quality JPEG. And then raw it allows you to, when you open it up in Photoshop or Lightroom, let's say that you needed a little bit more exposure. You can play with it. You can move things around. You can change the white balance. And I didn't talk to you about white balance yet, but that is key to when you're taking pictures and you're a professional photographer. You want your photos to look warm. So the key is to take natural photos with cloudy or shade white balance, so it's warm. And then when you're shooting in auto, it automatically shoots in auto, so that would be making everything cool. So, but with this artificial light, let me show you the difference. This is what it looks like to shoot. Let me get the right exposure. This is what it looks like to shoot with natural, the shade. And if I put it on auto, which is another white balance, that would probably be more natural to what I don't know, can you even tell the difference? Let's see. It's just a little, that's a little warmer with than this one. See, that has a little more blue in it. The auto has a little more blue in it. And so this is artificial light in here. So anyway, that's fun. It's like doing filters in Instagram. So that's your quick button right here. That'll get you into these little guys right here. It'll only let you do that if you're on manual. If you're in auto, it's not gonna let you do that. And just quickly, if you wanna get the SD card out, it's right here. You have to push, pull it out, okay? And you will need an SD card reader. This is a big, clunky, old-fashioned one. I think we're getting you we've ordered some little tiny ones. But you put it in here, plug it in, and then you can import it into a folder, create a folder, name it, so it's organized in your drive, and then you can find it easily, like if you're trying to access Photoshop. Then you have the battery, which is right here, comes out. These don't last. I mean, you're lucky if they last like 4 hours anymore. So then you plug it in the wall. And I had to order a bunch of these because these got lost, and I had to order a bunch of SD card readers. That's what we're waiting for so that we can start checking out all the cameras. But once we do that, then you'll be all set, and I can't wait to see the photos you take. All right. Thank you so much. Bye.